meters or 10% copper equivalent or better, some over 20%. Unheard of holes, really, anywhere in the world, in the history of the world. So that's how good it was.
You guys have about like 11 billionaires involved in this story. And that is pretty insane to think for. If someone looks at, oh, you're a penny stock looking for power nickel, you've got that many billionaires involved. That kind of speaks volumes as to what you're working with and what the potential is.
Yeah, you know what, and they've all been sort of hard fought to get them, because obviously you got to go through gatekeepers to meet these people, and obviously they didn't get to be super rich by being stupid. So they have the best advisors, and they ask the tough questions, and they do their due diligence.
Today, we're talking about, and I love the fact that they're able to put a press release saying remarkable in the headlines, especially when talking about a junior mining discovery. Pretty incredible coming out of the gold digger property.
They see a lot of visible gold here, and that's not really a big surprise, because if you look, way back to the first season, I think they drilled was 2021, and they did metallurgical work shortly after that, because they did see a lot of visible gold in holes. They took my advice. They did a round of metallurgy, I think, in late 21 and early 22, and then they did another one in late 22 and early 23. And both rounds of testing just hands down demonstrated absolutely fantastic recoveries. The metallurgical results to date speak volumes about the very high quality.
You'll remember Dr. Quentin Henning was on a few weeks back, and we see great movement from both of those companies being received exceptionally well. We worked with Goliath and owned shares of Goliath for years and years. We believe in this story. We believe in the syndicate and the entire team that they've amassed. The big news, not only from back at the conferences, was the drill results, which were incredible, and we're waiting on a ton more. It was yesterday's announcement from McEwen Mining that they are coming in for, I think, 3%. So 10 million. And that is significant, because once again, you start attracting the likes of the Dr. Quentin Henning, Rob McEwen, all these kinds of names into your deal. People take that as a sign, because you're attracting savvy mining investors that have done very well in the past. Certainly is information on our Substack, and I mean, there's a myriad of interviews that you can go through over the years where we've expressed our excitement as to what they were developing, and they continue to develop. Power nickel is no different. I mean, it's amazing to have one high confidence stock any year, especially in mining, because if a mining stock goes, it goes asymmetric. But to have two is exceptional, especially in the light of what I think is coming for the mining sector. And Power Nickel has been knocking it out of the park. We had them on the show a year ago. We immediately started buying, and told people that as part of our network that we were really excited, and then started officially working with them back in September. And that stock, since September, 60 cents. It's up at $1.38 right now. Part of what we do is we let people know companies that we love and we like. It's how we've done really well in the past. It's in part, we got to work with Great Bear years ago. We had great success with that. We have a framework, like a model that we use, and we have a network that we use. And that's a lot of the hard work and heavy lifting, is being able to rely on a lot of smart people and their expertise. That goes a long way. And we make sure for our subscribers that we're doing that. We're identifying risk. We're explaining the asymmetric possibility, really putting timeframes into perspective. Once you get some of these big players getting involved, as you would have saw with Great Bear, is people coming into the deal at different sections, adding more, I hate to use sort of credibility, but certainly adding a lot more flavor whenever you're getting further acknowledgement from mining billionaires and major investors saying, yes, we're acknowledging that you have something here. We want to let people know about that. Usually we keep that just for our subscribers, exactly who and how much we're buying. But we've been pretty vocal about those two. Hey, everyone. We're doing a quick one talk with someone we really want to reach out to that's covering the theme of copper and gold, polymetallic systems and porphyry systems, because listen, there's a couple stocks out there we talk about that have been doing very well that are looking for something similar, and in a region that we're very excited about. I'm not very shy about talking about Argentina, and we're really excited to have VP of Exploration from Kobrea Exploration, Rory Ritchie, how are you doing? I think you're just back from Argentina and probably heading back again soon. How are you doing?
I'm well, Andrew. Yourself?
Doing great. So,
Perfect.
I mean, you are an expert in these large porphyry copper gold systems, and maybe you can help kind of teach us a little bit about what that looks like compared to other types of systems, and why what's happening in Argentina on the property that's so exciting.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, I have spent a number of years working on porphyry copper and porphyry copper gold systems, mostly in the Americas. Generally speaking, these are bulk tonnage, considered low grade, but the size of them obviously can make them economic. So you're looking at mining grades of 0.5% copper to 1% copper, and again, these can have substantial credits, whether it's gold, silver, molybdenum is a common one there. And generally speaking, they do come in different shapes and sizes and flavors, but again, you're looking for something that's at least 300 million tons and has a certain grade that makes it viable to mine and to sell that concentrate.
And that's what people, at least, if you listen to, say, someone like Rick Roll, they say, listen, we want to see scale. We want to see someone going for something big. Yes, it has to have good grade. It has to be economic grade. And I'm not saying we're ahead of that right now. But for an investor, if you want to narrow down projects to look at, you want some scale. That's for sure.
100%, and it's funny, you'll see, there's a lot of gold majors, gold mining companies right now looking at copper systems. Maybe they can have gold, so that's one reason. But really, it's the mine life that these things can sustain. Where a typical gold deposit, maybe you have 12, 15 years of mine life. So all that upfront capital expenditure is hard to justify. But with a porphyry system, these things can last 20, 30, 40 years. I mean, some of them have been going for over 100 years. Bingham Canyon, Chuquicamata, these are very long-lived mines, and as a result, they're very attractive to these mining companies.
And I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Disclaimer: like if I'm talking about systems way off in the future, but if you're a mining company and you buy a porphyry type system, you might get it for X dollars. But like you're saying, they could be mining it and go, oh, we've opened up another system, or there's another porphyry system, because they tend to kind of cluster in beads. Is that kind of correct? You could hit another one where all of a sudden you've got like two purchases for the price of one. So they end up being very long lifespan. If they continue growing them and expanding them while they're mining, exceptionally economic from the original price tag of, say, buying it from the likes of a Kobrea or some other exploration company who finds something.
Absolutely, yeah. If you can find one, they're typically worth a lot of money, and they do come with some hefty price tags. Obviously, that's a big part of why we're excited on copper. And yeah, to your point, these things. It is typical that they're in clusters, or you have satellite deposits. There's two deposits that are world-class, the second and third biggest in the world, that are within a couple hundred kilometers and on trend of ours in Argentina, and El Teniente being one of them. They just made a new discovery there just a few years ago. They found another copper deposit that's only 3 kilometers from the pit, or from the mine operations. And then Los Bronces, which is about 180 kilometers to our north, that's the second biggest. Yeah, they keep making discoveries. They just made a significant discovery in the last 10 or 15 years. So definitely these things grow. That's typically what happens once they start doing the brownfields exploration. And again, that's why they're highly sought after from these mining companies.
So I'll jump into some of the more detailed stuff later on, like as to what you see in similarities from alterations and whatnot. We'll get into a little bit of the geospeak. But before that, maybe we could just touch on like Argentina. Now, I know you've got properties in BC as well, and I know you've had a lot of specialty in northern BC as well. But can we focus on Argentina, on the large, I was going to say one project, but it's a massive one project with, I guess, 7 porphyries you've identified. Is that correct? Or 7 targets that you're hoping?
There's over a dozen targets on 7 projects that really collectively we enveloped into one deal. And yeah, absolutely, Argentina. I mean, you're in the Andes. The Southern Cordillera is elephant country. If you're looking for porphyry copper deposits, the majority of copper comes from these type of deposits within South America, largely Chile. I think Chile alone produces 25% of the world's copper concentrate. And really, we're in Argentina, And the only thing that separates you from Chile, obviously, is the border. Well, the geology, as we know, doesn't stop at the border. So we have a significant portion of a very highly prospective region in the Andes. It's known as the Neogene Porphyry Copper Belt. That just relates to the age of these systems. But again, it includes two of the three biggest copper deposits in the world, El Teniente, Los Bronces. Those are all deposits that are around 4 to 9 million years old. So we are an elephant country, and where we are in the Argentinian side in the province of Mendoza has just opened up, really, at least in the area we are, for the first time. So, where we are in Western Malargüe mining district, there's never been any drilling up until the last 12 months. So it's pretty unique opportunity and definitely a world-class copper belt.
See, and that's very exciting too, to find in the Andes. That's like, people will hear, oh yeah, copper is Chile, Peru. I've heard of that. Maybe not so much in the past from Argentina, and I'll throw out my 2 cents as to maybe why, but why in a very big a hurry. That's all changing, and we see from the incentive regime for large investments, this new program coming from the new power, Milei, down in Argentina, that it was very quick when they started to announce that they were changing mining law and making, they're being pro-business. They're open to mining. They know what they have. They're a nuclear nation. They know they've got uranium. They have nuclear reactors, and they said, well, why aren't we utilizing this? And it was pretty quick that you had Rio Tinto come in for Arcadium. Which Rio Tinto? Why are they buying a lithium company in Argentina? And then you've got the deal with BHP on London for Filo. So that was very quick when you see billions upon billions of dollars flow in when there's an announcement that a country says, hey, we recognize the importance of all of these metals for not only transition, but for our economic system, for gold and silver. Is that, because you talked about the province, is that incentive or that program, has that been a decisive change for the attraction of people to go, hey, Argentina is a place that's ready for business?
Yeah, no, the RIGI program definitely is a big deal for mining companies. Obviously protects their investments to certain degrees and gives advantages for import export type scenarios. It's a work in progress. There is going to be more coming down the line. Undoubtedly, that's helped. I would argue that companies like BHP have been looking at Filo for probably more than Milei's been in power, right? So yes. I think it's largely coincidental that these favorable legislative acts are coming in at a time where there's assets being looked at, and obviously copper is one right now all the majors are hungry for. But certainly it is helping. Again, the mining rights are owned by the provinces. So San Juan versus Mendoza versus Salta or Jujuy, they have different aspects. But really it's all. It seems like, for example, in Mendoza, they've joined what they call the Copper Table, which is 5 provinces all working together to essentially market their minerals. Yep. And as well, you have Milei and the national kind of influence helping them out. But each of the provinces knows that the work to do is up to them. So it's really it's kind of a culmination of a bunch of ongoing efforts over the past call it 5 to 6 years, at least for Mendoza. And now the timing is really good, and hopefully we're coming into a market here. Certainly copper's in favor, critical minerals are in favor. So yeah, no, it's kind of a combination of things that make Argentina a very, very attractive jurisdiction right now.
And with that is obviously the consideration of not only land rights, water rights, environmental considerations. I mean, these are not things that just be shooed along, but they're things that they're ongoing. I'm sure that you guys as well are in conversations with to make sure that you want to get done, projects done, quickly, but they're done properly as well. Yes,
absolutely. And we've had many conversations and meetings with government officials, whether typically provincial in Mendoza, and yeah, they say they're not only here to help us, they're here to kind of protect our interests, but we have to operate within the controls and the regulations that have been put in place. So that's the deal. You come here and explore, we're happy to have you, but just follow the rules that we put into place, which are good. They're easy to work in the framework. And as a result, you have a good relationship, not just with the government, but also the local stakeholders, and it's all a very kind of concerted plan put forward, certainly in Mendoza anyway, to really make it work for everybody. And so far, they've done a really good job.
And we're going to get to more the geology as well, because we're lucky to have you to explain some of this to a neophyte like myself who just knows a little, But what I want to keep it a bit more general at first, because you said like the province has really come along. What do you think? What is it that over the past 5 years is it just they recognized that copper was so critical for the energy transition, and that, or what was it that we could learn, say, from Canada? Because my kind of thesis, let me throw out there, is we've got so much riches that we're gifted with here in Canada, but how do we get it out of the ground, and how do we convince the average mom and pop retail investor that we need these critical metals? They have to be done. How can we speed this process up? Do you see anything that they did down south there and in these provinces in particular that really helped to educate people and get them on board to say, you know what, this extractive sector is vital? Did you see anything that you could mention at all?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you touched on it there. The education, that's been a big part of it. There's been a lot of public hearings and a lot of engagement with the public, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. And they're taking the approach where there's no reason to hide anything here. They're proud of their resources. Certainly copper is perhaps slightly easier because there is a green aspect behind it, right? This is the way to wean off fossil fuels and the energy transition and all that. So, and that's another reason we like copper. But really, yeah, it's been education, and people have always said, I'm sure you've heard it before, in Canada, the mining industry doesn't do a great job of kind of standing up for itself and educating the public, because it's really everybody's using copper and metals, and this is something our societies can't live without. We should be proud of what we have and what we're doing and working towards on every day to find these minerals. And certainly that's the approach the government of Mendoza has taken. They're very upfront. They realize there's a few other intangibles. I think oil production in Mendoza is kind of on the decline, and maybe some other portions of their their GDP, for example. So yeah, they need copper. They need an economic stimulus. Copper just happens to be sellable in a sense to the public, because it is how we transition into a more kind of a green atmosphere. And yeah, so maybe we should do that more in Canada. We should be proud of our resources and advertise and teach everybody that mining is certainly how we do it in North America. It's very well done, and there's no risks being taken, right? And so we do a good job of producing these things. So yeah, I think it's just, again, a matter of educating the people, getting everyone excited for what their country has as far as a resource base, and then working towards developing those resources.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're young and you want to have a challenging career, there's no end to careers in mining, whether it's mining engineering, whether it's a geo side, whether it's you want to hang off a rock mountain and do prospecting, or sit behind a computer and do modeling, or we touched on a little bit, or try to work with AI to crunch data to find targets. Like, there's so many interesting applications one could go into that the sector is desperate for. But also, if you want to be aligned with trying to extract these critical metals that are the only solution to a lot of problems that people see out there, whether we need more solar panels, we need more electric current for nuclear, plus we need the uranium, or whatever it happens to be, that you get to work in a very challenging environment to extract veins out of the ground, grams per ton out of the ground, and to do it safely, effectively. That's a lot of brain power. That's a big challenge for someone if they want to get involved in something that's going to be rewarding and very challenging.
Absolutely. It is challenging. It can be very rewarding. And there's a lot of smart people. Certainly some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life are in this business. There's a lot of intellectual horsepower in our business. And you need that, because it's not easy, right? So it's not, we're not chipping away at a coal seam, underground, and the kind of, misnomers that become associated with mining. These are very intelligent people who I can promise you care more about the environment than most, because that's, where they operate every day. Yeah. And yes, there is going to be a shortage here, certainly of geologists. Like you said, there's an array of different fields associated with mining, but certainly I can tell you right now, there's not a lot of geologists, not a lot of young ones coming out of the local universities anyway, for whatever reason. So lots of opportunity if someone were to get interested in the field, because it's only going to grow, I think.
And I like to mention that too, because we do have a lot of young people that watch, and I mean, some of them can get overwhelmed with, everything looks dismal right now. And I like to remind them that no, there's so much opportunity. It's just not being presented to you. And depending on your level of excitement, it's, once again, you could be out in the jungle, running around, fighting off malaria with a pick, taking samples, or you could be in a comfortable air-conditioned office working on models. And that, I think, that knowing that that's there and that can be done, and that there's a lot of flexibility within also that, like, you can still go to a mine site, and if you're the data cruncher, that it's an exciting field, and because it is not only financially rewarding, but it's neat to go through a scientific model where you have a thesis, and then you apply that thesis, and you're learning in real time, and you're using everything from geochem, geophysical. I mean, you're using a lot of different techniques, and it's not just one thing. And I think that would excite a lot of people's minds to go, ooh, that does sound like a rewarding and challenging job. It's not just, I'm going to be, and I don't want to pick on a career, so I won't say it. Or even say, I don't want to be a stockbroker where I'm just trying to raise money for deals all the time. That, I've done that in my past, and that can sound exciting, but can also get boring. Like, you're just pitching stuff all day. This is something different. You get to apply a model and actively engage your mind and see what results are fast and quickly pivot.
Absolutely. No, it's a very, you're always exercising your brain. I love the combination of being able to go to the field, use my body to move me around and to bang on rocks. And then I come back to the office and I'm just using my brain to figure things out and figure out what I've seen and what are the next steps. So it's a great career in the sense that it keeps you actively engaged. There hasn't been a day where I look at the clock and I'm waiting for time to roll on. I'm always, if I do look at the clock, it's because I'm running out of time to get what I need to be done by the end of the day, which I think is actually a good way to work day in, day out, because I thoroughly enjoy it.
And it is treasure hunting at the end of the day. And that's kind of the way I look at it, is that you're whether it's gold or whether it's copper, it's still treasure. And you're finding it, from the bellies of the earth, spitting it out through millions of years of rock formation. And that in and of itself, if someone really stops to think and pause, go, that's fascinating. That's wild how this stuff comes about, which kind of brings us back to the porphyry system of these giant systems, these kind of like giant blobs. And I was explained to in a way that kind of like a string of pearls, these blobs that could be in clusters, that are these feeder systems for huge veins that kind of pulse forward in through, rock formations. Is that a good way to kind of, very basic way? I'm not like take away all the actual detail work, but a very basic understanding for someone to think about what's happening here with the 12 projects you have.
Yeah, it is complex. I could speak for days on it, to be honest. Generally speaking, these porphyry copper deposits are a network of veins, and these veins are typically, half a centimeter to a couple centimeters. Maybe they can be millimeters or less than a millimeter, but it's really what we call a stockwork of veins. So, if you have thousands and thousands of these veins, and some are going the same way, some are crisscrossing, depends how, where you are in the system. But it's really these veins, and they're quartz veins typically, with other minerals along with them. But that's where the copper drops out, is in these veins. And this metal, or this fluid, this metal-rich fluid, is really coming down. It's originating maybe 8 to 10 kilometers below at the top of some big magma chamber, and then you get, why we call them porphyries, is because these intrusions that come up to surface, these narrow, vertically extensive intrusions that come up to surface along faults and cracks. Once they come up really fast, they cool really fast, and all you see are the crystals that were floating around in that original magma. And that's what we call the porphyritic texture. That's why these deposits are called porphyry deposits. And the same kind of plumbing system, if you will, that these porphyry intrusions come up is where your veins are coming up. So, and this is a long-lived, the fluids that ultimately make the veins. These are long-lived events. They can be tens of thousands to 100,000 or hundreds of thousands of years, and they can really take place over millions of years, kind of off and on. But that's generally the idea. Metal-rich fluids coming from below, coming up close to surface, where all of a sudden the rock becomes brittle and they crack through the rock, and these explosions result in these underground explosions, if you will, that are happening 1.5 to 2 kilometers down. Make these big vein systems that can be, kilometers in scale, diameter and vertically. And then that's generally what you're looking for. And go ahead.
And so it's the quartz that generally is kind of the traveling system that it travels through, that where the copper comes along.
The fluids are these silica-rich fluids, which when they cool, you essentially get quartz, a few other minerals, and you get sulfide, which is where your copper is. That's typically how it works. And
that also, and once again, I'm okay with geologies, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or not. But also, you see at surface too. So are you seeing the type of texturing on outcrop that indicates that porphyry as well? Like, are you seeing all of these things at surface? Never mind, like we've got the geophysics here. You can see the blob. we'll get to the blob here in a second, but you can see that texturing on the surface as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, maybe we can go to the next slide there, if you can, and then that kind of shows a good. I like this because it's kind of a 3-dimensional, relatively real life. That's all real, obviously, but. Yes. So El Perdido, for example, which we happen to be looking at, is a target I was on just a couple of weeks ago. This is one that we were excited about before we got down there. I think after spending 7 to 10 days there, verifying all the historical work that had been done, we're even more excited because we think there's a chance it could be a bigger system than originally kind of was outlined on paper. Now I have to disclose it by saying, or I have to say that, we haven't drilled this. This has never been drilled. You ultimately don't know what you have, especially in the Andes here, where you have these leached environments, until you drill. So that's why they call the drill the truth machine. We're working towards drilling on this. So hopefully we'll know soon. But again, I have to throw out that disclaimer. But generally, yes, absolutely. What we saw on surface is the kind of what we call I might call the textbook porphyry signature, where you have these concentric zones of different alteration, really relating to the temperature and also the pH of the fluids as they're interacting with the surrounding rock. But no, El Perdido looks great. Certainly the alteration, just like we had hoped. There's veining for kilometers. Not all the veining has copper in it. But again, you need to see veins like crazy when you're walking around in these things. And again, I spoke to those, whether they're sheeted or stockwork veins. You need to see that over a big area, which is what we saw. The intrusions. You want to see not just one series of intrusions. You really want to see several. Some are early, some are what they call intermineral, and some are late. But really, that just speaks to kind of the robustness of the system. And also things like breccias. Again, that's kind of a esoteric topic, but really breccias tell you that there's some oomph to the system.
Okay.
And we saw breccias over a big area, about 1.5 kilometers by 300 meters, and kind of cutting through the middle of the exploration target, which is where we see the best veining. So after our trip to El Perdido and doing a bit of work and sampling and doing mapping, we kind of progressed the story. And it looks very typical of a nice porphyry system.
That's like, once again, the reason why I want to point out is that the more and more as I learn, and we try to educate people too, is that there are these indications that you can see before drilling, and that is a great way for teams to be able to identify places to start. Rock samples, chip samples, geophysics, and all that. I wanted to kind of touch on that because a lot of people that are new to mining, which we try to reach, we're trying to demystify some of it, because yes, there's the truth machine, but a lot of people go, well, okay, I might have to wait for the truth machine for a little while. How do I even know that they found a decent place to look? And these are some of the things that, and you're explaining it very well, are not terribly hard to understand. You need to have this alteration. You need to have this veining system. That system has to have certain things in it. Do porphyries also tend to have like bismuth, antimony, these types of things that are also attached or associated? Are there? But you won't know that till you drill. Is that correct? Or
yeah, I mean, they can have very, very small degrees, at least in and around porphyry systems. You can see bismuth and the little bits of antimony, but these are trace amounts. These are nothing that would amount to a byproduct in a mining operation. But certainly you can get some strange ones, like rhenium is one that you can get as a healthy byproduct from some of these deposits. I mentioned molybdenum, gold, silver.
Yes.
And, there's also different types of porphyries. I won't get into it, but in China, where you can have tin related with these kind of big kind of systems.
Oh, okay.
These magmatic hydrothermal bulk tonnage systems. There are some interesting things. Now, where it gets tricky, I think, to describe to the layman investor in the Andes is, so we have a porphyry system sticking out of surface, for example, at El Perdido. It should just be a surface. You should just be able to chip along the rock and get copper. Yeah. Now, the unique thing in the Andes and in parts of the world is you get what's called supergene leaching and enrichment. So really, if you think of this deposit was made 2 kilometers down, and now it's been brought up to surface over the course of years with erosion and mountain building, and these things get pushed up. We have what's called a leached cap at surface. So that's from fluids, essentially, as the water table, as this uplift pushes these rocks through the water table, if you can follow me.
Yep.
The water is kind of dissolving the copper minerals, and then it reprecipitates them out lower. So what that means is at surface, at least where we are in El Perdido, in this part of the Andes, there's very little copper because it's all been leached down. Yep. Now, the bonus is that can add to your copper grade. Let's call it a couple hundred meters down or 100 meters down, and that's called a supergene enrichment blanket. But essentially that copper's been moved. So that's why you can't go along chip at surface. You just have the veins and you have the relics of that copper, whether it's oxides or whatever it may be, given the extent of leaching. So that's where it's a little bit of a head scratcher, I think. So I'm not sure if that helps or not, but that's why we need to drill this thing, is because at surface it's been leached, but you could drill down 30 meters and all of a sudden you could be in good grade copper. And but all the other earmarks of a big porphyry system, a well-developed porphyry system, are there. And
that's where like a geochem or a mag system, geophysical, like where you can sight down and you go, we see there's a reflective, there's a mass down here that we're seeing. It's a blob. We don't know exactly what type, but it's conductive. It's something. And is that then it's part of the puzzle to go, okay, we see a blob, we see these veins. This is giving us some good ideas of where we should be starting to think of angles and drills and whatnot.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why that last slide we were looking at it was showing the magnetics at depth, right? And why the magnetics is important in some of these porphyry systems. Not all of them, but they seem to be in this region. Is you can have where the copper is, which is what we is called the potassic zone. You often get magnetite, which is a mineral. It's a mineral that you can't stick it to your fridge, but if you wave a magnet around it, you can induce a magnetic kind of polarity. So what that pink blob means is that there's a good chance that there's some magnetite in that rock subsurface, and that magnetite is likely or certainly potentially coincident, dropping out in the same place as the copper minerals.
And then the other thing I was going to ask too, in regards to this, is that like a kilometer? This is a big target too, and I want to readdress that because there's lots of interesting projects out there, and maybe they're small, but this is a good scale size too. And that's at the end of the day, people are attracted to, like, if we're going to go find something, let's go find something big.
Again, and this speaks to mine life and what the majors are looking for. They're looking for a quick metric might be 5 million tons or greater of contained copper. And you need if you're looking at 0.5% to 1% copper, you need a big volume of rock. So that's a big part of porphyry exploration. You need to figure out that as early as possible that there's potential to build the tonnage. Otherwise, you just have what we might refer to as a geologic curiosity, where you have there's copper there, sure, but it's never going to be worthwhile economically to take it out of the ground.
And so I'll jump back a little bit too, because you'd mentioned I think earlier too to me that you got to be a bit of a gaucho. You're on horseback to get to this location.
Yeah, absolutely. No, a lot of riding horses. That's really the best way to see as much rock as possible. So yeah, we were riding horses every day for hours, and for sure, it's actually pretty hard work. I'm not going to lie, but yes, the gauchos, they've been hugely helpful. Yes. These are the locals who are the farmers, goat farmers down there typically, who supply the horses and who take care of us and take care of the horses and mules. And without them, yeah, we'd be in a lot of trouble. But yes, so right now it's all horseback access to all these prospects. Essentially, you get to the bottom of the mountain with the horses, and then you hike up.
I wanted to just kind of have people kind of get the visual of how to get there, because it's part of that story. It's a bit more romantic to look at it as treasure hunting on horseback, kind of like old days. But also because I'm tying it back into this is new. It hasn't been drilled. I mean and it's a big system, or I should say, quote unquote. If it's a porphyry and the numbers come back and drill, comes back positive, it's hard to find places. Everyone says all the easy stuff being picked apart. So how did you guys get this in such a great area with porphyry deposits nearby? I think 40 kilometers away there's a mine. How did you guys come about getting this package, this plant package?
Yeah, and so before I get into that, you're absolutely right. These things are very hard to come by. It's getting harder and harder every year to find quality projects, whether they're potential gold deposits or copper or whatever commodity it may be. Really, this was a unique situation where through some contacts, we kind of caught wind that Mendoza Province was going to open up for exploration and development. To be honest, we didn't think it was going to be this positive of an environment down there. Like, the government has just really done an amazing job, and they've delivered along the way, which is really kind of exceptional. So we caught wind that Mendoza was opening up. We knew about the geology there, as many people would. You're in the Andes, you're in that Neogene Porphyry Copper Belt, and we knew that certain areas, this one area in particular, had never been drilled. So yeah, we went down to seek out some projects. We got introduced to the vendors. The vendors are very interesting guys in the sense that they figured they got these projects almost 30 years ago. They secured them when they were first able to secure them. Even before that, they were working for the military, mapping out these systems before you could stake publicly. And they've held them ever since. They knew the potential, so they're geologists. They get it. So they held them for 30 years in the hopes that Mendoza one day would open up, and it did. And I'm assuming we were one of the first, if not the first, to talk with them. And we negotiated a fair deal, which everyone's happy with. So, yeah, so it was really serendipitous. We happened to be looking aggressively for projects at the time when a new area with world-class porphyry potential opened up. And we jumped on it. We took a little bit of a risk, in the sense that we didn't know what it was going to look like, this so-called opening up of the area. But we're very happy we did. We're very happy with what we got, and we're very happy with the way things are going, not just geology-wise, but the socioeconomic scene down there. It's been great.
That's what I like to hear too, because we see a rapid change in economy in Argentina, but then to see on a state level where you can see all the key stakeholders in place. They understand, they get it. That makes life so much easier if everyone's got the same common goal that, listen, we need to get this stuff out of the rock. We need to get these valuable resources and do it properly. And obviously you were able to convince the markets too, because you guys did a private placement before Christmas. Like, I think you raised $5 million as well. So you're good to go. Is it $5 million?
Yep. It was 5 million. Yep, largely through high net worth individuals. So it was kind of a unique scenario, and which was perfect for us because these are good shareholders to have. And there's a reason. I mean, the financing went through. It's because it's an exceptional opportunity. This just doesn't come around very often. These things would have been drilled over and over in the last 40 years if it wasn't for the circumstances down there in Mendoza.
And that's why I wanted to kind of hone in on that too, because every once in a while projects do come along, and they're in that elephant country, and it's always I always ask, well, how did you get this? Like, if it's northern BC, it's glacial retreatment. You go, hey, it's green. Like, this is under 2 kilometers of ice, years and years ago, and it's been receding for 100 years. That people go, oh, okay, I get it. It was in a glacier and it's popping out of a glacier. So it's important to understand in a place like Argentina in the Andes where you go, okay, I know there's tons of copper there. This is how you got it. This is the unique situation you've got. And of course, then it's reflected in the fact that in a tough market last year, you're able to raise $5 million, that people understand the story and they understand the scope and scale to go, yeah, this is worth looking at.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's hard enough to find one, attractive porphyry target. And we have a dozen targets anyway. Again, they haven't all been mapped. They're not all as clear as El Perdido, which does seem to be a, well-developed, a porphyry system. Again, we don't know the grade or the copper content. We can't say anything to that yet, but yes, to your point, generally speaking, it's a very, very unique opportunity where we could make multiple discoveries on one project package. Argentina is a great place to work. So it's not like you're in a tough place. This is, there's all the resources, there's skilled labor, everything right now is really kind of making the whole story very attractive. And that's why we're excited and we're working now, and we're going to keep working, and we're going to try and drill something as quick as possible.
Yeah, and I wanted our viewers to know that when you have that cohesion and everyone's working together, it can be done. Like, it isn't some fairy tale. Like, it can be done, so we can do this quickly and efficiently and effectively, and especially then the scope and scale of the target. I mean, that's what's so exciting about this story. So, what are the next steps here? So, I mean, you've mentioned El Perdido. I'm assuming that one's really struck in your mind. Are you mapping the 7? Or you map all 12, or are you going to go back and just go, let's just focus in on this one El Perdido 1 kilometer target and start targeting 5, 10, 20, 30 drill holes? I don't know. What's the steps?
Yeah. So the steps is there's kind of twofold, really. We have 2 ongoing initiatives, if you will. One is just the regional reconnaissance and really qualifying all the porphyry, all these alteration systems, these porphyry targets. So we're kind of stepping through systematically El Perdido, Sophie, Cuprum, El Destino, all the 7 different projects that we acquired. And then at the same time, we're working towards drilling El Perdido. We've already made our minds up on that one. We want to drill it. We know where to drill. So now it's just a matter of getting the roads in place and all the access and then drilling that. So it's those are kind of the 2 arms that are actively going on and concurrently going on. And the idea is that, we hope to be able to drill this year to generate excitement and news. And then we hope to have targets to drill, additional targets, I should say, to drill the following year. So that's why we're working everything up as we go.
So the roads and whatnot, building that out, once again, that you have to have great relationships with the locals. It's good because it gives people a sense of what it takes, that even when you have a property that you're really excited about, what it takes to get to where you want to get to. When do you think what are you hoping that you'll actually start drilling?
We're hoping to drill kind of late March. Now that we do have some work to do first. I mean, we're like I said, we're right now just getting those roads, everything organized. It's a punch in the road. And then once that road and the drill pads are there, well, then you can drill. So yeah, kind of March, mid to late March is what we're pushing for.
And I mean, people hear about cost of drilling up here. You have to fly around in helicopters and everything else. What's the cost down there like? What you said you've got the crews and the skilled labor. Is the cost pretty reasonable in comparison?
Yeah, it's I would say it's cheaper. Well, avoiding helicopters is always cheaper.
That's always cheaper.
they're expensive. I mean, and it's no different down in Argentina. I would actually argue, well, there's very few helicopters down in Mendoza. There's just not that many available. So, we were kind of drilling is roughly $500 to $600 US per meter all in.
Yep.
So it's more expensive than Canada, for example. It's comparable to the United States. Canada, for whatever reason, well, for a number of reasons, we have very, very cheap drilling, which is great. So it's kind of, you're looking at similar rates to the United States, maybe a little bit cheaper. So about 500 to 600 meters US per meter all in. So that includes all the support, the camps, the labor, the sending the rock samples to the lab for analysis, all that stuff, road building, everything, right? You kind of look at 500 to 600 US per meter.
No, that's all right. Yeah. And of course, and assay results will be done down in Argentina as well.
Yeah. Mendoza. It's funny, actually, Mendoza, despite the fact that it hasn't been a favorable jurisdiction in the past, that's where really most of the drill companies are, most of the labs, all the kind of, all the facilities and all the businesses are really largely in Mendoza. So that's another bonus.
That's really potent. And so when are you going back?
I'll be going back in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, I got some office work and stuff here that keeps me busy, obviously, and things like this. But yeah, no, I'll be in and out for the rest of the season. We have the crews established right now. Very happy with the crews. Everything's kind of running quite smooth now. We have an office set up in Malargüe. So we kind of worked out the kinks and, over the course of January. And now, it's just a matter of keeping going and getting as much done as we can before the snow flies.
Excellent. Well, this has been fascinating. I love Argentina, and I've wanted to have guests talking about Argentina because the turnaround there is incredible. I mean, we're focused on energy and mining over here, and I mean, I look at it as being a possible blueprint to go, hey, if Canada, learned something from that process and really applied it, we would be an absolute powerhouse. It would be incredible. It would be so exciting. So to see a company in action and experiencing that kind of actual partnership with the government and community that is working together all in a common goal, that's pretty uplifting for me. And of course, it's it's the size and scope of what you guys have too is very compelling and interesting to me as well. Yeah, no, it has a lot going for it. The story and the deal. And again, to your point, the government, the relationships, it's been a treat, to be honest. It can be tough in this business. Yeah. Canada, it ebbs and flows as far as, things get easier, things get more difficult. That'll keep happening. But generally speaking, the experience in Argentina thus far has just been fantastic. Well, we're definitely very excited to keep in touch with you guys because, March is not that far away. I thought you might say somewhere in middle summer, end of summer. So that's pretty cool. We'll get some data in. Are you doing you're going to be doing trenching, any channel samples, any stuff like that in the meantime? Yeah, we're sampling, we're mapping, trenching. Again, if you're in these leached environments, there's not a lot of in some cases, but in other of the targets, you never know. We might do some trenching. We're really just getting started. We couldn't start till, and I'll point out that we're in the astral summer here, right? So it's summer down, right? It's summer right now, whereas obviously it's winter up here. We really didn't get started till January, but we're working as fast as we can now. We'll keep you posted. It'd be great to, cool. We got to keep everyone up to date. It's just starting. And we should have lots of exciting news moving forward. No, and yes, and I love having someone who understands the type of system in the area that they're looking and that they're excited about it. I mean, we like to have people on that people can see, oh yeah, we're onto something. This is a big thesis, and we're looking forward to getting the data. So I'm thanks for educating me and some of the audience. I mean, some of the audience may already know, but this is a fascinating project for all those reasons. And I wanted to highlight too some of those indicators. Whenever I get comments all the time, hey Andrew, I'm not a geo. How am I supposed to know, if someone says it's this type of system? And I wanted to highlight some of those things that from you on a very basic level, that if you're a retail investor, you go, does it have these texturing? Does it have this type of, outcropping and the plumbing? Like there's certain things that you could ask if you're a retail investor to a geo to say, does it have these ingredients that are exciting you that's indicative of a porphyry system? And I think you walked us through that, and that's very vital knowledge for a retail investor.
Yeah, and you can't always get those answers. In some cases, there's no rock sticking out, or certainly in Australia, they're looking for porphyries under hundreds of meters of cover. But generally speaking, yeah, these are big systems. You want to see a lot of veining. You want to see a lot of alteration over kilometers. At least 1 kilometer across as far as a footprint. Doesn't mean your deposit's that big, but it's internal to that. But yeah, those are the main things. Are you seeing lots of veining, and how big is it? Yeah, that'd be my 2 questions. Excellent.
Well, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time. We're looking forward to catching up, and we'll keep our eyes peeled for March, and enjoy Argentina as well.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Yeah, appreciate it. I'll see you again, and appreciate the opportunity there.
No, of course. This is fascinating. Thanks so much. All the best, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Okay, you bet. Thanks, Andrew.
Meters are 10% copper equivalent or better, some over 20%. Unheard of holes, really, anywhere in the world, in the history of the world. So that's how good it was.
You guys have about 11 billionaires involved in this story, and that is pretty insane to think. For if someone looks to go, oh, you're a penny stock looking for power nickel, you've got that many billionaires involved. That kind of speaks volumes as to what you're working with and what the potential is.
Yeah, you know what, and they've all been sort of hard fought to get them, because obviously you got to go through gatekeepers to meet these people, and obviously they didn't get to be super rich by being stupid. So they have the best advisors, and they ask the tough questions, and they do their due diligence.
Today we're talking about, and I love the fact that they're able to put a press release saying remarkable in the headlines, especially when talking about a junior mining discovery. Pretty incredible coming out of the gold digger property.
They see a lot of visible gold here, and that's not really a big surprise, because if you look, way back to the first season I think they drilled was 2021, and they did metallurgical work shortly after that, because they did see a lot of visible gold in holes. They took my advice. They did a round of metallurgy, I think, in late 21 and early 22, and then they did another one in late 22 and early 23. And both rounds of testing just hands down demonstrated absolutely fantastic recoveries. The metallurgical results to date speak volumes about the very high quality.
You'll remember Dr. Quinton Henning was on a few weeks back, and we see great movement from both of those companies being received exceptionally well. We've worked with Goliath and owned shares of Goliath for years and years. We believe in this story. We believe in the syndicate and the entire team that they've amassed. The big news, not only from back at the conferences, was the drill results, which were incredible, and we're waiting on a ton more. It was yesterday's announcement from McEwen Mining that they are coming in for, I think, 3%. So 10 million. And that is significant, because once again, you start attracting the likes of the Dr. Quinton Henning, Rob McEwen, all these kinds of names into your deal. People take that as a sign, because you're attracting savvy mining investors that have done very well in the past. Certainly is information on our Substack, and I mean, there's a myriad of interviews that you can go through over the years where we've expressed our excitement as to what they were developing, and they continue to develop. Power nickel is no different. I mean, it's amazing to have one high confidence stock any year, especially in mining, because if a mining stock goes, it goes asymmetric. But to have two is exceptional, especially in the light of what I think is coming for the mining sector. And Power Nickel has been knocking it out of the park. We had them on the show a year ago. We immediately started buying, and told people that as part of our network that we were really excited, and then started officially working with them back in September. And that stock, since September, 60 cents, is up at $1.38 right now. Part of what we do is we let people know companies that we love and we like. It's how we've done really well in the past. It's in part, we got to work with Great Bear years ago. We had great success with that. We have a framework, like a model that we use, and we have a network that we use. And that's a lot of the hard work and heavy lifting. is being able to rely on a lot of smart people and their expertise. That goes a long way, and we make sure for our subscribers that we're doing that. We're identifying risk, we're explaining the asymmetric possibility, really putting timeframes into perspective. Once you get some of these big players getting involved, as you would have saw with Great Bear, is people coming into the deal at different sections, adding more, I hate to use sort of credibility, but certainly adding a lot more flavor whenever you're getting further acknowledgement from mining billionaires and major investors saying, yes, we're acknowledging that you have something here. We want to let people know about that. Usually we keep that just for our subscribers, exactly who and how much we're buying, but we've been pretty vocal about those two.